Okay, good morning everyone. My name is Joshi Devani and I would be your host for today. We have a interesting panel discussion, also a lot of engagement we are expecting towards the cyber-aware digital transformation of utilities particularly. So we in our day-to-day lives come across a lot of digital transformation these days, especially as we kicked in. A lot of our life has been intertwined with internet. So we are no more secluded from the world of internet and cybersecurity. But there is a different realm of cybersecurity when it comes to power systems because it's the critical infrastructure and it's very living for our entire ecosystem. So without further ado, I think I'll start the session. I would now request Ms. Monali Zia Hazra to come over for a welcome address.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Joshi. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another the next session, which is again a very hot and happening theme, which I'm sure you'll find interesting. It's my great pleasure on behalf of USA to welcome you to this session on cyber-aware digital transformation, which focuses on the cybersecurity challenges faced by South Asian power utilities. I'm sure and I hope you will have an enriching experience and will enjoy this discussion. As we gathered for today's discussion here, we are reminded of how critical, secure, and resilient energy infrastructure are to our daily lives and the overall development of our region. In recent years, we have witnessed an unprecedented surge in the digitalization of our infrastructure, and utilities are at the forefront of this digital transformation. While this has brought about numerous benefits in terms of efficiency, reliability, and situation awareness, it has also exposed us to newer risks of cyber threats. Electric companies in US, Europe, Japan, and even here in South Asia are facing regular attempted intrusion. It's a serious issue that we cannot afford to ignore. This highlights the urgent need for a robust cybersecurity measures. The critical nature of our energy infrastructure makes it a prime target for malicious actors, underscoring the importance of proactive cybersecurity planning. Fortunately, efforts are underway to address these challenges. Governments and regulatory bodies across South Asia are recognizing the significance of cybersecurity in protecting our critical national infrastructures. Initiatives such as the framework created by Ministry of Power in India and the guidelines laid down by the Indian Central Electricity Authority are indicative of the growing awareness and commitment to enhancing cybersecurity in the power sector. As a part of its efforts to enhance the resilience of power utilities, USA, through its SAREP or South Asia Regional Energy Partnership Program, has been working on engaging the energy utilities across South Asia to improve their cyber risk posture. This includes development of a specialized tool which we will be unveiling soon, building awareness and strengthening capacities of the energy utilities on cybersecurity. Our session today aims to share insights on the cybersecurity risk and challenges facing the power sector, delving into the complexities and vulnerabilities introduced by digital transformation of our utilities. The session also includes discussion on emerging cyber threats and explore effective strategies for securing our power grid, engaging in a meaningful dialogue about the latest threat and innovative protective measure. Exploring the complexities and risks associated with our interconnected grid, we will attempt to identify the obstacles that hinder our progress in developing and investing in cybersecurity program and share innovative approaches and success stories to strengthen our defenses. A key theme of SACEF 2024 has been collaboration. Our goal with this session is also to share insight, discuss best practices, and develop strategies to collaboratively work together on enhancing the cyber security of power utilities in South Asia. As we embark on this important conversation, I urge each of you to please actively participate, share your insight, participate in the discussion, and together, collaboratively, we can develop some actionable strategies. Thank you so much and look forward to a great discussion. Over to you, Joshi.
Thank you, Manali, for those warm welcome remarks. Now we have our keynote speaker joining us from Canada. He's kind enough to spare his very late night with us. We have Reese Matchmeters, Director of Industrial Security, Waterfall Security Solutions. Reese has 20 years of experience and is a lead researcher of Waterfall Annual Threat Report. He's a designated electrical substations working in plant automation and telecommunications. He supported IT data centers and OT hardware vendors. His experience has driven him to champion cyber-informed engineering and cyber-safe network designs for industry and critical infrastructure. He holds an engineering degree from University of Alberta. We would like to welcome Reese. Thank you for your kind availability. The time is yours. Yeah.
Thank you, Joshi. I'm honored to be here and to share my insights with you all. I believe in your mission, and I would like to thank USAID and the SACEF Forum for hosting me here today as a keynote speaker. It's late in my evening here today. I welcome you all. A good afternoon. And let's talk a little bit about the brief state of affairs in OT cybersecurity with a focus on power and utilities. As Joshi said, I'm a director of industrial security at Waterfall, and my job is to specialize in threat research and in engineering grade solutions that are of interest to our customers. So let's talk, I am here representing my company. Waterfall is a security tech company. We produce unidirectional gateways and a family of related products that are used in the most important industrial and critical infrastructures around the world. And we've been an industry leader and pioneer in these kind of solutions. We've been around 17 years protecting OT and ICS systems. And we don't provide services, but we've always been at the forefront of cybersecurity advocacy and have made it our goal to make the world a safer place. And with that out of the way, let's dive into the threats to OT systems and the things that I've been seeing in my research. So one of the things that I do as part of my job is I produce a threat report, and it's specifically tailored to people in our industries, like in power and in green energy and clean energy. And we call it the Waterfall and ICS Strive Threat Report. The latest one came out in 2024 in May. We've got a new one coming out very soon in Q1 of 2025. And let's talk a little bit about what this report is. It's a little bit special. We've designed it very carefully. It tracks deliberate attacks, so not equipment failures, not errors or omissions, with physical consequences. So we're not looking at near misses or data theft only, but we're looking at situations that have crippled, shut down, or impaired safety and operations in OT systems. And in focus industries that, quite frankly, mostly our customers, but industries that we understand well, care about. So that includes any kind of automation, manufacturing, heavy industry, critical infrastructure, shipping, transportation, and of course, power. And we are looking at only incidents in the public record in our threat report. And the reason for that is quite simple. We want this report to be the most credible report out there. We want it to cover things that we can actually talk about. It doesn't really do much sense to talk about incidents that are private or that are told to us in confidence. We want to be able to discuss things openly. And so we always look at things in the public record. And by the way, that includes many incidents that I've found in India of late and in Southeast Asia and around the world. It's a global report. So we aim for this to be the most useful for everybody. And as a goal to being the most transparent report out there, we've published our entire data set, all the incidents that we've collected in the appendix. And so let's talk a little bit about what we've seen. What we've basically seen, I'm going to use a Canadian analogy here, but we've seen a hockey stick graph. So we've seen a dramatic exponential increase, a nearly doubling every year of incidents in our threat report since 2019. And these are incidents with physical consequences. Most of the attacks have been caused by ransomware, criminal ransomware. Some of the takeaways from 2024 in our latest report is that a lot of these ransomware attacks are now starting to use nation-state grade tactics, techniques, and procedures. So this means the tools that criminal ransomware groups use are borrowed, are derived, are at the same capability level as the tools that we used to see nation states using against each other, let's say a decade ago, roughly in 2016 and 2015. And not only that, we're seeing a rise in nation state attacks, especially on critical infrastructure and energy, such as Volt Typhoon across the United States, Sandworm on critical infrastructure in the Ukraine, and around the world. And this is now something that we can no longer dismiss. We will no longer be going back to a time in 2019 when we only had 6 incidents with physical consequences in the public record. Now we're seeing those numbers in the double digits and exponentially increasing every year. What kind of threat actor mix are we seeing? Here's a takeaway from the report. We can see here that the majority of the attacks are ransomware, and this is all the ones. This includes inclusive of everything since Stuxnet, since 2010, ransomware. The rest is unknown. Sometimes we cannot attribute the attack to a certain threat actor, but then a lot of supply chain, nation state, and hacktivist attacks coming hot on the heels of ransomware attacks. And if you'd like to know more about this report and what's in it, please go to our website and download it. You can go to waterfall-security.com/2024-threat-report, or just Google Waterfall Threat Report, and I'm sure you'll find it as your first hit. Please read it. It's a wealth of knowledge. It's designed to help all of us elevate OT cybersecurity, especially in the power sector. Some known attack types that I want to talk about that we've seen from 2010 to present. What is this? Attack types. This is a term that I coined to try and understand how cyber attacks are impacting physical operations. So how do attacks get into operational technology, industrial control system networks in all sectors that we covered in our report, and how are they shutting down, impairing, or causing incidents in physical operations with physical impacts? And one of the things that we discovered by categorizing and analyzing all this data in our report, and the latest report, was something quite surprising. We found out that 2/3 of known attacks, so those are the ones that we found in the public record that had a known cause, how a threat actor managed to get in and penetrate into ICS networks, of those that are known, 2/3 indirectly impacted OT. What does this mean? We found a tremendous amount of attacks that said, out of an abundance of caution, we've shut everything down. This was extremely common. 35% of all incidents claimed that they had to preemptively shut down to protect their physical operations. Another roughly 1/3, 31%, shut down as IT systems and third-party connections, these are physical network connections or shared systems between networks, were essential to physical operations. So they had to shut down their operational technology network, their industrial control systems, because they were dependent on IT resources or on third parties. This is quite common in manufacturing, but also happens in many utilities. And the remaining third of known attack types targeted OT directly. So this is the minority, actually. Minority directly attempted to gain access and misoperate operations. Lastly, I want to leave you with some takeaways to help you in your conversations today. Some things that I think are relevant to not only the world, but Southeast Asia and the clean energy transition. You're going to be looking at many new technologies and making many new network connections throughout the design process and going forward in modernizing existing infrastructure. And I want you to think carefully about how those connections are made. I'm not saying don't make those connections, but certainly examine the connections you make out to the cloud, out to other kinds of systems, and ask yourself, how can you protect physical operations and critical infrastructure and safety from cyber attack? You can no longer ignore hacktivists and nation states and criminal ransomware and the significant threat that they pose to physical operations. Look, for example, to programs such as the U.S. Department of Energy's Cyber-Informed Engineering Program. They have a wealth of free resources available to anybody with an internet connection. You can go and Google, U.S. DOE CIE, that's out of Idaho National Labs in the U.S., and they have many amazing resources, including They have a large checklist, a large series of resources, an implementation guide that you can go look at and consider when you make your next engineering designs. And if you'd like to know more, have any questions, and I'm not able to answer them today, please use that QR code, add me on LinkedIn. I'm available anytime. And I'd love to talk to you all in person if possible. And you can also email me if you don't wish to use LinkedIn at rees.mactemes, rees.machtemes at waterfall-security.com. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Reese. We are delighted to have you here. Thank you for that detailed information and very relevant insights into South Asia clean energy transition, how it's important. Especially thank you for your availability once again. Moving on, now we have, since we understood what is the consequences, what are the consequences or what are the threats that are into the system, every utility has to be prepared with how to address these risks, how to address these challenges. So anything that has to be developed has to be measured first. So USAID SAREP has developed a tool which can measure the preparedness of the utilities, and then we call it Cyber Security Preparedness Assessment Tool. So I would request the technical team to play the video. We will be unveiling this tool here, and this will be available. This will be so shortly available on our website, and you can reach out to us in terms of how to access it or how to use it. Our experts will help you to take that forward. Now I'll request the technical team to play the video. Yep. So that's cybersecurity posture assessment tool for you all. Now we had an interesting panel that has lined up for us to have interesting discussions on how we are going ahead in terms of cyber-aware digital transformation, mostly focused on power utilities. What are different aspects of it? We have a very diverse panel, an interesting panel discussion ahead. I would like to invite the panelists and the moderator onto the dais, starting with Dr. Farooq Qazi, whose name is next to known in the cybersecurity domain in this all over India and also globally. So we have developed this tool with the help of his team and in the collaboration from Dr. Farooq Qazi's team. So now I request him to come onto the dais, and then I will also request other panelists to join. Dr. Narendra D. Selva, General Manager, Leco Electricity Corporation Company. Dr. Prashant Saxena, Lead Cybersecurity, RVPNL. Dr. Shilohu Rao, Senior Vice President, Goods and Services, Tax Network. Dr. Tanushri Bhattacharjee, Senior R&D Manager, Grid Sentry. Rohit Sharma, Head of Cybersecurity at Adani Power Limited. Shiv Kataria, Senior Key Expert, R&D Siemens. Would kindly invite all these panelists with a big round of applause. Yeah, thank you everyone. I would request Dr. Qazi to briefly share the tool or explain the tool for our audience, and then can carry out for the panel discussion. I hand over the time to you. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Joshi, and thank you, USAID. So before we can start for the panel discussion, couple of minutes I can spare on the CPAT tool which was just now launched. And the objective or conceptualization when we did, what was the main requirement which we had kept in our mind. So as we have seen in the keynote address, since 2019 or so, we are seeing exponential growth in terms of cyber attacks which are happening on energy and power sector. Beginning from 2009-10, when Stuxnet came to the word in terms of the first cyber attack which breached so-called OT security layer, because earlier people used to feel that these systems are air-gapped and probably they are not vulnerable to the cyber attack. But that was an eye-opener. Subsequently, 2015-16, we had something called as Black Energy 3, which attacked Ukrainian distribution companies, Discom. And suddenly this started becoming a talk of boardroom discussions. Earlier, people were outrightly rejecting, saying that energy power sector is not banking and finance kind of sector, where there can be such kind of cyber attacks, or the magnitude of the cyber attack would not be that disrupting. But now we are all agreed upon that cybersecurity of the energy sector indeed is a crucial. And if I want to ensure the cybersecurity, the first thing that I need to be knowing is what is my cybersecurity posture. That is the first thing, because then you can all align your cybersecurity program in the utility or in the organization. So first thing was to identify what is my current posture. And the second thing was to see that after every 6 months or probably after every 1 year, how my cybersecurity posture is evolving, how it is getting better and better in terms of certain domains. So we should not look cybersecurity in a monolithic framework. We need to look in how are we well prepared in terms of detecting it, defending it, resiliency of that, how are we ready for the incident handling and respond as well. So we categorize certain domains in terms of that posture assessment. And the idea is basically to see how we are trying to harden our system, how our posture is becoming better and better over a period of time. Now, while doing so, we got to know that a lot of such kind of tools are anyway there in the market. Like C2M2 is one of the very popular one. NERC-CIP is having one more such kind of tool available. NIST had came up with some kind of cybersecurity framework. So what is extra that we are bringing on table in terms of the CPAT tool? So while doing some kind of preliminary investigation, we realized that the South Asian utilities, particularly in the energy and power sector, are not that advanced as those are in the US or other European or advanced countries. So putting them, overburdening them in fact with hundreds of questions will deter them to absorb these kind of tools which are available. So what we try to do is, the beauty of this particular tool is, it is made in a hierarchical manner where you need to first see whether basic requirement is getting satisfied or not. If it is, then you will go for the next level of questionnaire. So a 2-level hierarchy was maintained. And we tried to combine C2M2, NIST, NERC-CIP together so that the controls which are, basic controls which are required would be first checked, tick marked, and then we can go for the advanced one. So this is very much curated kind of tool for South Asian countries where we are not having those cybersecurity practices much matured or evolved. So the CPAT tool will also give you guideline into which direction you need to think more in terms of securing your critical infrastructure. So this was the thought process while developing the CPAT tool. It is now available. We did some kind of around couple of audits as well, or surveys as well. It is a self-assessment tool, so you don't have to worry about any kind of data going anywhere outside. That is a beauty, because people in the cybersecurity are always having a cautious approach towards adopting such kind of tools, assuming or presuming that our data might go somewhere outside. So this is a very secure tool. It is a self-assessment tool which is properly created specifically for the South Asian countries. So with this, I thank USAID for giving us opportunity for getting involved into the tool development, and I am sure that the tool will be adopted by many of those utilities in the South Asian countries. So thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, so now I'm in the other role. So as a moderator for this panel discussion, So today we have illustrated panel, diversity both in terms of regional, both in terms of technology, as well as we are having kind of legal aspect which generally doesn't get covered in technical platform. And nowadays, a lot of digitization, digital transformation in terms of smart metering and other things are happening where people are much cautious about knowing how are the data privacy rules getting impacted by such kind of digital transformation. So as the title of the panel discussion goes, it is a cyber-aware digital transformation. And these are basically kind of people are perceiving it as a contradictory of each other. People are trying to be more cautious about cybersecurity implication and holding up their digital transformation journey. So what this objective of the panel discussion is to encourage you to embrace digital transformation, but while doing so, how one eye can be kept or need to be kept on the cyber-aware association. Because retrofitting cybersecurity solution may be counterproductive quite often. So right at the design stage, how can we be keeping cybersecurity in our mind while going for digital transformation? That would be the objective of this panel discussion. And the takeaways of this panel discussion will also be aligned towards that. So to begin the panel discussion, and since the name itself suggests digital transformation, I would like to ask Mr. Rohit Sharma the first question, who is representing, who is CISO of Adani Power, that how was your journey towards digital transformation, typically embracing these new technologies like AI, ML, IoT, and how you try to ensure that while doing so, the cyber-aware approach is kept in mind. So over to you, Mr. Rohit Sharma.
Thank you, Dr. Farooq. So let me first congratulate USAID and your team on launching this cyber posture assessment tool. That is going to be a very valuable tool for us and all the other utilities also. Now coming to the topic of digital transformation and cybersecurity related to it. So digital is now a buzzword among all the industries. Everyone is trying to unlock value and bring in efficiency using digital projects. And I like to say that in the movie Spider-Man, there's a saying called, with great power comes great responsibility. I like to say that with new digital project comes enhanced cyber risk. So whenever you launch or start a new digital transformation project, ultimately what you are doing is you are increasing your presence in cyberspace. So there is going to be exposure of your organization which is going to increase. And therefore there will be new kind of vulnerabilities that will be coming into your landscape. There will be new kind of attacks that might be possible. So to actually unlock value from any digital transformation project, you need to build in the cybersecurity controls right into the architecture. So the first mantra for securing a digital transformation project is securing it by design. So when you conceive a project, you need to ensure that the controls for security are included in the project itself. For example, consider one of the major technologies that we are adopting in the utility space, that is IoT. So IoT devices, when you use for sensorizations of equipment or assets which are used in power generation or other industries, you get a plethora of data that was not available earlier, which is very useful for analytics and creating predictive maintenance kind of value that was not available earlier. But now you also have achieved a situation in which this data can also be siphoned by a cyber attacker. So if you are designing a new digital transformation initiative, it is very important to actually build in security by design. Then you also need to see what kind of implications adoption of technologies like cloud computing or say AR, VR can have in your landscape. So building in cybersecurity controls at the design level itself is the first thing that you need to consider. Second is, once these projects are in the implementation phase, there has to be a verification process. Because if you have included the controls in the design phase, it also needs to be ensured that these are actually implemented when you are actually rolling out the project. Because sometimes what happens is that you get stuck in implementation phase due to some security controls, and people tend to bypass those controls configurations. So if that is not done, then ultimately your risk is going to be remaining the same as it was without controls, and you will be facing a risky situation, and posture will be degrading. So ensuring the implementation of those controls is very important. Additionally, whenever there is an integration with existing systems, that is one point of entry that can be used by attackers. So if you are integrating any of your new digital projects with your existing technology, then again you need to ensure that there is a security control that is placed on those integrations. So that is what we are doing at our organization.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Rohit. We will take audience questions probably towards the end, but if there is any pressing question that you would like to ask, you can of course raise your hand and we will try to entertain. But we are keeping some time slot towards the end, so you can write it down in case if you have any question to be specifically asked to any panelist, then we will surely take it once we complete the first round of presentation or discussion. So you rightly mentioned about the adoption of those IoTs and other type of digital transformation elements. So that becomes a technology part. So I would like to also cover, because the panel discussion is designed in such a way that almost all perspectives of cybersecurity will get covered. So from the technology, what we also need to understand is a people and process, because generally this term people, process, technology covers most of the landscape of the cybersecurity. So the second thing along with the technology which plays a very crucial role is in terms of the processes, the standards, best practices which are globally available. So I'd like to ask Mr. Shiv, because you are in your individual capacity also do a lot of work in terms of making awareness about standardization, and your organization Siemens is of course one of the leader in the OT industry. So I would like to know from you, and probably you can tell to our audience, what is the global landscape in terms of processes or standards or best practices? And can you also draw some kind of representation for the South Asian countries? Because sometimes what happens is those standards, best practices may not be well suited for our ground realities as well. So the question to you is just to give us some idea about what is the landscape in terms of standards, best practices, and how you see South Asian countries are suitable for adopting those best practices.
Yeah, sure. So Roy sir made my work easy because he spoke about few of the processes through when you talk about adoption of technology.
In fact, that's why we made him opening batsman. Rohit Sharma is the opening batsman in cricket.
Glad. Yeah, so you spoke about the security by design concept. You also spoke about verification. So how would we do that? We require a process behind it. And why we need the process is the first thinking whenever we want to address security will be, of course, we want to do the adoption of technology. But with technology, we would require people to actually not only handle it during the design stage, but also when you're operating it. So both the elements of security, which is people and process, are equally important. If we only do the awareness and don't enable them with the processes and technology, then nothing will move. At the same time, if we only have technology, it will introduce additional threats, and the people will then be more confused and getting benefit out of it. So how do we start is the regulation standard is a good thing, which we have available to us, and it's a work of multiple years, multiple professionals around the globe working together to define those best practices. So first standard that is available to us is IEC 62443. It's gold standard for OT security. It actually covers all the aspects, starting from your processes to the people aspect, to the technological requirement in terms of security, and also how do you ensure that you are sourcing a secure product. You can actually get that certification out of it. Moving forward, the standard is evolving, and there would be profiles also available specific to energy sector. So then you will have customization out of the overall 62443 standard suite. So standard is really good help that we can take out of the best practices. We can start with assessing ourselves against people, process, and technology, three elements, How are we doing in terms of awareness of the people, setting up the policy procedure documents? Are we reviewing them enough? Are we also responding to the new threats being discovered, like Black Energy 3, for example, or Frosty Grove, for example? Whenever they come, we need to adjust our defenses accordingly. Regulation on the other side, we see multiple regulations coming. In North America, we have the Precedents Directive, and then we have NERC standard already available. In the European landscape, this year we have NIS2 and CRA coming into effect. The Middle East is also responding to that. But specifically our region, there are initiative from Government of India, the Central Electricity Authority is now converting the guideline into regulation. That's one development. Then NCIIPC also defined a cybersecurity framework for critical entities. And this is also one of the work that we got the opportunity to participate and define it in the 3 different directions of people, process, and technology. So these are the regulations we can really take help of to design a cybersecurity program that addresses that all. Again, for the people side, every year these big companies do report the threat intelligence, and IBM have reported last year that in their cost of data breach report, that the most significant region of data breach is employee error. So we need to fix this. We need to make people aware what is at stake, empower them through trainings, also empower them with knowledge of IT and OT so that they have a cross-functional understanding, and make a cultural shift within the organization that the focus should be on not only operating the entity, but also making secure operations of the entity. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Shiv. But I would like to ask you one more question in terms of best practices. Typically, in the recent conflicts which are happening at various places in the world, there is one topic which is quite often discussed nowadays is about supply chain contamination. So I would like to ask from you, because of your association with the Siemens that you are working as a major company. So how do you feel, what can be the best practice? Because I am hearing this word of software bill of material or SBOM quite often these days. So would you like to throw some light on that? Because in couple of tenders which have come recently, people have started mentioning about SBOM. So would you like to throw a bit more light on that particular best practice?
Yeah, sure. So there are 2 elements to it. One is the secure sourcing, and then the software bill of material. So Siemens as an organization has, have established something called as Product and Solution Security Initiative. So we take cybersecurity very seriously, and it starts from the design phase itself to actually secure deployment and then secure operations. Of course, there would be vulnerabilities that would be reported, but Siemens have a very robust CERT organization that takes care of them and then gives them advisories. So throughout the product development, we follow the PSS process, and then we also follow a 62444-1 standard for secure development lifecycle. So that's about the product development itself. Now, SBOM is a regulation, as mandatory requirement for all the entities. CRA is also mandating it in Europe, and these 2 geographies is very important for the company like Siemens. It is said that 1 out of 3 controllers is a Siemens controller around the globe, so the stake is very high here. So we have started an internal initiative to create a repository of all the Siemens product for software bill of material. So the work is going on, and before the deadline of SBOM, we would have those inventories available to our customers. Here you can go check what is there in this one particular product and what is the issues that these products might have moving forward.
Yeah, thank you, Shiv. So just continuing with people, process, technology theme, where process and technology we just covered. So I would like to invite now Dr. Prashant from RVPNL to share his experience in terms of making aware about the cybersecurity best hygiene practices amongst the utilities or organization. So I'm aware that you are doing amazing work in terms of capacity building program. So would you like to throw some light how you did that, and what can be the possibility for other people, audience, to adopt those kind of strategies in their organization?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. So first of all, thank you to the organizers for arranging such events, because this is the platform where different people come together and share their thoughts. So I work for RVPN, that is Rajasthan Vidyut Prasaran Nigam Limited, the transmission company of Rajasthan, and we have around 45,000 kilometers of network across the Rajasthan. So we have a lot of cyber security issues. We have faced certain threats from different nation state actors. Some APT groups are there. So we have adopted a formulation that is triple E, that is empowerment, efficiency, and then evaluation. So in that triple E method, what we have developed, we have planned for first of all empowering the people, for the capacity building. Because if you talk about any cyber attack, whether it is a stucknet or whether it is any type of Israeli attack or something, the initial steps of any attack is somewhere we call it as a phishing or baiting or something. So first of all, we have to empower our employees. We have to empower the people who are working on the grids, because substations are very remotely. I mean, if I talk about Rajasthan, one substation to different substation maybe on a distance of 50 kilometers, and we have some places in Rajasthan where the first you can say tea stall is after 20 kilometers. So people are living in such far-flung areas and giving the services for the state, for the nation. So empowering them first. Then second thing is how they people are doing, how they people are performing by checking their internal audits, doing lot of internal testing, quizzes, motivating them with the e-certificates and all. So it is all into the efficiency part. And once we have matured into the efficiency part, we have moved into the evolution phase. In that particular evolution phase, we have started for the threat hunting. We have mapped certain MITRE attack tactics, techniques, and practices framework into our organization, because being a transmission network, the state load dispatch centers are very crucial. Because REPN is such a network that we have the optical communication between each and every grid. So in that particular case, if one, I could say, substation is infected, the malware can do a lateral movement. And in that case, multiple stations can be infected, and also our SLDCs can be infected. So this triple E model can be a good thing, and we all South Asian countries can adopt it, because this would be a step-by-step process. Because if you directly go to the threat hunting, if you directly go to auditing the things, it actually won't work. So this is the model that we have done. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, thank you. So now I'd like to come to Dr. Tanoshri, because you are representing the research related to the cybersecurity in the power sector. You also represent the startup here. So we would like to know from you, typically in OT environment, because we know that IT security is a much matured one. There are a lot of products which are now well established, and people have now got a faith in those products. But OT security in itself is a new area. So what are the products which are currently available in the market so as to secure the OT critical infrastructure? And what kind of difference you perceive in terms of IT security versus OT security? So if you would like to throw some light on that, it will be much helpful to the audience.
Sure. Thank you for bringing this question. So as this power sector is growing, so there is a convergence between IT and OT. So securing our power OT network is becoming very crucial and critical as well. So there are many technologies that are available, that are coming as innovative technologies to better posture for our power grids. Like, for example, we know that remote access is important in any power grid. So be it for your controlling function or monitoring function. So for that remote access, it should be secured in the matter of, like for your SCADA communication, any control systems or any RTUs, the communication should have multi-factor authentication, or it can have role-based access management, or the data that is getting communicated, that should be encrypted, so that we can save our assets as well as the communication part. Then there is intrusion, industrial intrusion detection systems. This can be used for detection of if anything is already intruded or trying to intrude in your network. So that can actually monitor the continuous traffic behavior, if there is any theft or if there is any malicious thing that is going on. be it your control system or critical assets. And then there is also AI-driven threat detection is also coming. This is actually increasingly employed in all the power networks to do the analysis of traffic pattern that is continuously generating from your any kind of ICS system, so that it can detect if there is any malicious packet or malicious behavior that is going in your network and can give you an incident response that there is a flag and you should take some action. Then there is network segmentation and micro-segmentation, which is important in terms of prevention. Like you, all of us must be knowing that zones and conduits that we need to make. Zones to isolate your critical assets from non-critical assets. So that if there is a breach, it should not travel further. It should not go impact most of the part of your sector. Then there is OT vulnerability assessment and risk assessment. So even our startup have already launched some product on that. So OT vulnerability assessment, for that first, what you need to know, you need to know what are the assets in your network. Means you need to have an inventory list of your assets. So that can be done. There are many tools like Nozomi, Dragos, they are also having, and our companies also have launched, where you will get a complete list of your assets in your substation. Then you can go for audit, mapping it to the National Vulnerability Database, where you can find out what are the patches, what is the risk score of your station, what you should do for a mitigation techniques, and further process. Then coming to OT security, this analysis, and there is a thing, IPS, Intrusion Protection System, that is still actually in a thinking stage or POC level, because people are still not ready for a honeypot in OT. While IT, it is already a developed product and people are going for honeypot, but OT, there is still some issues, there are still challenges. Even substation don't want to install such kind of a product in their premises, because they are thinking maybe that honeypot can be injecting some malware in your system. So that thinking need to be recovered from substation users or substation engineer perspective point of view, because honeypot can have a first whitelisting of whatever messages is coming in, and then it can talk to the attacker, finding its motive, where it is coming from, till the time you can protect your own system. Then there is digital twin. I think Dr. Narendra will speak in details about digital twin. So digital twin is nothing but it is a new technology to mimicking your own substation in a simulated platform. How it will be useful? Because many cybersecurity strategies, you need a complete life cycle. It is kind of development, then testing, then validation. That you can do in a simulated platform. So you need not to apply in an actual substation or have some downtime. So that is beneficial for this thing. So these are all the new technologies, but all are having some advantages and merits of its own. But we need to keep in mind, while you are deploying these strategies, it should be in an integrated manner and it should be in a multi-layered approach, because we cannot afford any downtime in power, right? So I hope with the combination of this, some of these technologies, following the compliance rules, and also upskill your staff, we can make a better cybersecurity posture for our OT power network.
Yeah, thank you, Tanushri. And you brought out very nicely about this concept which is called as defense in depth. So there cannot be a silver bullet which can solve all your cybersecurity problems of an organization. So we need to have a layered approach. We need to have kind of solutions at different levels so as to ensure better cybersecurity of the organization. So you rightly brought out that particular point, and you also hinted to Dr. Narendra about digital twin. In fact, we were there in the Sri Lanka for USAID exercise on that CPED, and we got to know a lot of interesting initiatives are being taken at various utilities in Sri Lanka. So I request Dr. Narendra if you can speak about some of those. Particularly digital twin is one of the interesting thing that you are doing in your utilities.
Actually, I will first put forth the brought onto the stage the utility perspective in this particular subject matter. Actually, utilities are a niche business. Utilities are a niche business. We have no much of numbers in the world. So because of this reason, the software development finds certain limitations. At the same time, from our side, we are doing a public business. Whether our ownership is public or otherwise, still the business is public. So there we are being regulated by a lot of laws and regulations. Having these two imperatives, what it happens is the software solutions, the pack of software solutions we have as utilities is very limited. And once when we try to deploy it, we have our own ways of doing business, our own modalities. So augmenting the software for our own modalities becomes a harsh job. Having this situation, I think both in India as well as Sri Lanka and I think entire Southeast Asia, utilities try to do their own software. So this is one of the major key things that we are trying to do. We try to do in-house development. Furthermore, we are very savvy, very interested in having our own servers and keeping the data within our premises. So these two things create substantial issue pertaining to the cybersecurity. Because first thing is our development servers and the production servers. The line between these two servers become thinner and thinner. Second thing is our developments. The back end of the developments become thinner and thinner. Eventually we come to a situation where the back end open bank, where you have a nice front end, but when you go into the bank, inside all the vaults and drawers are opened. So this is one of the major issues, I think, when we study the entire gamut of utilities. The major issue is rather than the external penetration, major issue is the internal intrusions. That's the predominant risk. So that's why we think, or at least we were jointly thinking when Dr. Ashi and other people were in Sri Lanka, probably as very correctly Dr. Tanushi said, probably honeypot kind of a solution may not be the way out. Because honeypots are fantastic for external threats. Probably creating a digital twin, because however this digital twin is rising, within our software domains, our digital twin is naturally rising with the implementation of all these software and backup systems. Eventually, if you go deep into our software layers, digital twin is existing. So if we can fortify this digital twin and try to execute all this software within the digital twin to characterize whatever the attacks, that may be the most viable modality for the implementing cybersecurity within the bounds of the utilities. However, we as utility managers, we got to very clearly understand that our love to develop the inside developments, our love to host our software internally, got to very clearly, we have to understand, we got to change our culture and establish clear demarcation between the production and the development service, and create backends, very strong backends, before we hand over the stuff to the internal operators. So our development group and the internal operation group got to be clearly separated, and these lines got to be drawn. I think we as electrical engineers, even when we are taking over a substation, this is there. When a contractor does a substation, and when he tries to hand that over, we have our checks and balances to ensure that this substation is operable. So the same meticulous control got to be established once when our internal software also come into our domain of operations. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, sir. So one of the major component in digital transformation journey, of course, is how can we ensure data privacy? So for example, if I want to go for smart metering implementation, or if I want to go for some IoT-based solution or AI-based solution, all these solutions essentially rely on huge amount of data that you collect. The data may be from customers, the data may be of operation. Now, how in the prevailing circumstances of various data privacy rules, this implementation can happen? Because we know that GDPR is there for the European countries. India also had recently the data privacy rule. So I would like to bring in Dr. Rao, who is expert in this legal matters and how the privacy issues are being handled. Particularly, I would like to ask you, sir, two questions. One is, you can give us data privacy as a overall, how it is evolving globally, the rules, regulations, etc. And the second question would be a more specific one, that how this data privacy rules or regulations are going to impact on the digital transformation journey for energy and power network. Maybe smart metering you can take as one example. How would that GDPR or DPDP rule of India or other countries that they are having, how is that going to impact in future or now as well? So over to you, Dr. Rao.
Yeah, thank you. So you rightly gave the last slot to me. End of cyber security is beginning of cyber crimes. So as long as everything goes well, you need not to worry about the regulations and laws. But when you come to data protection, I'll give you a scenario. Since he emphasized on smart meters, just imagine a country like India, where we're going to implement smart metering in every household. Approximately, I can guess around 25 crores of smart meters will be installed across the country. That could be the scenario. I hope my panelists will agree. 25 CR is approximately a household. So the smart meters are actually going to give a live data that will be transmitted to your cloud servers wherever you're hosting your data. And the data will be transmitted to the cloud and it will be analyzed live. And on an average, I inquired with one of the field experts, how much is the data consumed by each smart meter per day? He said approximately 50 KB to 100 KB. And 25 crore into 100 KB. Imagine the size of data you are going to generate a day. This is only with regard to the usage pattern. For example, just you want to know how much of power has been consumed. That is the traffic data. Now let us go into the next aspect of the smart metering. Why you need a smart metering? You require an analytics has to be run on the smart meter to understand the behavioral pattern of your consumers. And the behavioral pattern of the consumers is like when is the consumer is actually taking a lot of energy and whenever he requires load shedding and etc. These are all behavioral patterns you analyze. Again, this data you top it. I do not know the exact size. Definitely this is going to be on top of your regular data which you're going to collect. And third aspect you need to see here is fraud analytics. The very important aspect of bringing a smart meter, why? Because there is a revenue leakage. And the revenue leakage has to be plugged. So in order to plug that, you need to keep a track of each and every customer and who is the customer, whether he's a residential customer or he is a commercial customer or he is having any kind of a subsidy. So all these parameters has to be linked. Now coming to the fact of privacy. Now I'm going to pose you some important and interesting questions. Maybe you need to analyze by yourself. So normally the smart meter registered on a household, one particular person, right? And a house definitely have husband, wife, and children. So now the question comes here is, the data generated by the smart meters falls under which category? Whether they're personal data or non-personal data, or machine data or mixed data. This is not clear. Legally, this has not been defined anywhere. Even you have looked into the guidelines issued by the Central Electricity Authority, even the DPDP Act, GDPR. GDPR at least defines what is non-personal data. They have a definition, but they do not have how to define these kind of machine-generated data. So when it comes to this kind of a scenario, it's a very challenging days ahead. For example, I'll give you another analysis. If the data generated by the smart meters, right, it will have some identifier. Technologically, you will have either GPRS-based data collection, or you're going to have a RFID-based data collection. These are the two technologically you are having as of now. One is a grid-based, like RFID will pull the information from the meters in a certain region, urban regions, and probably you go for rural region with a GPRS-based kind of a data architecture. So if this particular data, where it resides, whether the ISPs whom you're going to rely exclusively and extensively, whether they were going to give you the same amount of protection which you intended, and what data residing in their servers. That is a big question. And if that particular data is attributable or it is a PII, that is personally identifiable information is also attached. These are the very tricky questions. When it comes to DPDP Act, it's a very, very comprehensively Government of India thought through with the consultation with the industry, that each sector will come out with their own regulation. That is the outcome of DPDP Act. So it means that the Act gives the freedom to the sector to come out with your own regulation. Now that is the gap. So now here what happens is, so I have been hearing all my panelists, they have experience with the technology, they keep talking about technology, but what is actually happens at the end of the day, anything which we deliver, it ends up with the human. Our approach has to be human-centric. At the end, the beneficiaries, our customers, our consumers, who has to get the best benefits and best technology aspects and best protection. Now the threats which are emerging out of the smart metering, I just envisaging, just imagine you installed a smart meter, get hacked, and after that, if a person hacks a smart meter, I don't get my electricity at my home. I came to know that, I just encountered with one of your colleague in USAID. He worked extensively in a smart meter business. I asked him what happens if someone hacks it, whether I'll get a power supply or not. He said, so no traffic will be there, power traffic won't be there. Then I asked him, how do I get it? He said, you have to have two keys, a primary key and secondary key has to be physically go to the each and household, encrypt, remove the encryption, then do a manual process, then only I'll get my power. So just imagine the kind of threat we are going to face. So what I propose in this forum, since it is a South Asia, very specifically, we can have an harmonized standards developed for South Asia. Preferably, we already have an existing SARC platform. Maybe SARC platform can come out, because cybersecurity is not a country specific. It is the shared responsibility of the each and every country. Not only region level, even at the global level, we need to emerge a shared responsibility framework. A regulatory framework, not only DPDP Act. If you look at South Asia, apart from India, there are no specific power sector based cybersecurity guidelines issued by any of the South Asian nation. There's a fact. Maybe I may be wrong. If any of the audience has, you can correct me. To the best of my knowledge, I didn't come across, even I searched, I did my research on this. Second aspect is, what is missing at the global level also is a uniform approach on how to handle personal data and non-personal data and mixed data. Emergence of generative AI is brought one more scenario where we have a scenario of mixed data, that data generated with the help of the automated technology, where you can have a personal data along with the non-personal data. So the emergency issue here is that what is the universal approach which the globe is going to adapt? So for that, I have done my research on that. I proposed a concept of data constitutionalism. Data constitutionalism is something which is extremely important at this point of time at a global level, probably a UN-based organization or a kind of leadership of USAID and some kind of an organizations can take up this as a long-term measure to protect the individuals and the data privacy of our consumers and citizens in one country or global citizens across the globe. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Rao, for bringing out a very important perspective on data privacy. So, and I'm sure that we would take it ahead as you discussed. So one question that I would like to ask to Mr. Rohit is, a lot of people are nowadays talking about something called a zero trust architecture. And typically zero trust architecture for power utilities. The question would be like, how you feel would be effective considering the inherent nature of the OT security as versus IT. So do you feel that indeed it would be useful, and what are your thoughts on that zero trust architecture?
So the fundamental of zero trust is that every transaction should be authenticated and verified. Only then there will be a validity of that transaction. That means that each and every packet that is transferred over the network has to be authenticated from the host side as well as the server side. This actually introduces a latency which might be acceptable on the IT side of the world. If we talk about real-time systems such as power grid, which operates in milliseconds, I, as of now, don't see a feasibility of implementing such an architecture on the OT systems. Typically, those which require real-time operations. While if there are batch operations like in manufacturing, there might be a possibility of implementing zero trust, but with my understanding of power sector and the OT system that we operate, zero trust as of now seems difficult for me to actually envisage how it can be implemented.
Right, yeah. Thank you, thank you. So maybe I can take one more question and then we'll open it for the audience. And the question is something that everybody asks to us whenever we go out for any kind of survey or any kind of posture assessment, that we indeed want to ensure that our organization cybersecurity posture is made better by people, process, technology, or whatever means. But to do that, you need money, you need funding, you need some kind of grant to be associated with that. And typically when it goes to the top management, these are all ruled out for one or other reason. So I can catch hold of CEO here and ask him that what is the perspective in the board meeting whenever some kind of expenses for cybersecurity are raised by CISOs and when it goes to the CEOs. So Dr. Narendra De Silva, if you can give your opinion on that, that how a cybersecurity program, which essentially requires some kind of allocation of fund, gets viewed by the top management. So that's the question.
Yes, that's a very, very valid and pertinent question. So actually what it happens in the boardrooms and justification of this funding, more than the boardrooms, justification in front of the regulator. That's the second battle we got to, if I get through the boardroom, I got to get that through the regulator as well. So when it goes to the boardroom and the regulator, the major thing is we got to do the cost-benefit analysis. Now here, when you look at the security kind of a benefit, that must have the real threats. So that's the most important thing here. We got to do this continuous assessment of threats and the penetration testing. So we got to create artificial risk and show the boards and the regulators that there is a real threat. Now, for an example, I was trying once the same problem to justify on a particular investment, which I found a little bit, I felt that I'm vulnerable in the board. So what we did was, we did a penetration test. I commissioned a group of penetration testers, and they found multiple modalities of penetration. So that report justified the complete investment. So the thing is, as far as a real threat is there, I don't think any board or any regulator would be reluctant in making investment. Issue is whether this is something imaginary or whether real thing is there. So the best thing is to get the penetration testing done, do the analysis. Now your tool even comes very handy. I was very happy when I see that this deployment is there. These are really handy tools. Because how much we talk here, eventually, unless we do this investment, unless we commission these activities, technically these are not going to come into our organizations. So the modalities are basic assessments. The preliminary assessments can crack the issue. I don't think any board or any regulator, once when you show the real concrete threats, will shun away from making the investment. Thank you.
So that's quite an interesting input, how to drive this cybersecurity program. So maybe we can take couple of questions from the audience. So whoever wants to ask the question, they can raise their hand. If you want to direct it to a particular panelist, you can. Otherwise, you can just talk about the question, and whoever feels fit to answer to that, they would answer to that. So we can start probably, if you can pass on mic.
Hi, I'm Victor. We are actually into an analytics firm who provides a lot of software technologies to utilities. But the problem we see in the recent past is after the new cybersecurity regulations came in, and we see a lot of technology projects being delayed just because we need to go through some cybersecurity protocols, and then only then the implementation will happen, something like that. And this is causing a big issue even for the utilities as well as for us also, because this is leading to a lot of delays. And what are the solutions we can follow, or what are the steps we can take so that the projects don't get delayed? At the same time, we ensure that the cybersecurity compliances happen at later stage or something. So is that something we can consider, or is it possible to take that approach?
Anyone who would like to take? Mr. Rohit?
So I hope you are building a software platform. That is what you said. So Shiv talked about software development lifecycle, and cybersecurity is expected to be an integral part of software development lifecycle. So whenever you are doing a QA testing, or you are releasing your release management, it should have checkpoints of cybersecurity, and there are tools available for that. See, ultimately, your tool is expected to generate some amount of value for the customer that you are going to sell it to. And it's a reasonable ask that your tool should not be adding any risk to their cyber posture. So if you are creating a software package that is already tested for any vulnerabilities, you have taken due software controls like access control, role-based controls, authentication features, including multi-factor authentication and plugins like that. So I don't think there will be any challenge for any customer to adopt your tool set into their environment. If you are expecting that you can build cybersecurity after you have rolled out the tool, that is not actually possible. Once software has been rolled out, putting a bolt-on software security controls is very difficult for you and for the customer also. So probably the best way for you to address this is to incorporate controls in your development lifecycle and get third-party audits. So third-party audits are expected to be a generator of trust for the customers, so that these products have been tested by third party, and it is safe to use these in our environment. So in fact, the quality testing is also expected to do the same. So I don't think if you have done due diligence at your part before you provide it to customer, and you are able to provide, say, audit reports to them, there should be any delay that should be taking place.
Yeah.
Yes, just give.
Yeah. Hi. How digital transformation is impacting from AI to blockchain and cybersecurity, especially in the energy infrastructure?
So I'll just answer the gentleman prior to you. If you permit me, I will answer some tips. See, one aspect is for you, you need an ecosystem to develop and promote your product. That's what you are looking forward. And there should be a clear regulatory mechanism available in the country and the global level, and that will be facilitating your business initiatives without any having difficulties in promoting a product. I hope I understand your question. This is what the outcome of your question. For this, we need to follow the integrated digital systems. For example, if you look at countries like Estonia, they have created a XT infrastructure. XT infrastructure is basically an integrated digital system across the country, unique, and it is completely sectorized. So they create an ecosystem for people who want to promote a product. They exactly know what are the standards they have to follow. And without following those standards, your product cannot be chipped into the system at all. So the need of the hour is, if in India or a global level, there is a need of a national digital systems and power grids, power distribution and smart meters. This has to come. One. Second, when this kind of systems come into the picture, they need to have a harmonized standards to prevent vendor locking. For example, if one particular vendor is giving a certain RF structure, I know I was interacting with one of your colleagues, he said that one particular RF infrastructure is not compatible with others. Like how EU has come up with a standard of having one particular type of adapter, similarly, there should be harmonized standards should be present in the ecosystem. Then only problems which like your startups like you or a small MSME like you can come up. So these are my suggestions. Thank you.
If you permit, I will also just give a small word. This is a very important, extremely important question. I'm not a IT guy. I'm a nut and bolt engineer. So in our part of the world, in electrical engineering, the same problem is there. Now say if a circuit breaker standard changes, then the vendors are still doing it in the old standard, we are requesting the new standard, there is a problem. How do we iron out this is that first thing, the standard institutes do not publish standards without publishing the pre-standards. So standards won't come abruptly. It takes probably 6 months, 1 year, so that the developers get the opportunity of augmenting it to the standards. Second thing, it is always developers forums which create standards. Third thing is, of course, there is a certain investment cost. For every change of standard, there is a cost from both the ends. From our end, we got a cost. For your end, you got a cost. That standardization process, what is uniform in other engineering fields, got to be adopted in the IT field as well. IT standards got to be made in dialogue with the developers and got to be implemented in a phasal manner. And you and us both should get ready to put little bit of money in every instance of changing of the standard. Thank you very much.
Yeah, maybe we can take up your question. If you can repeat back, because then we had a bit of gap in between.
Okay. How the digital transformation is impacting from AI, especially to the transformation in the blockchain and cybersecurity, especially prioritizing the energy infrastructure. That was my concern.
Anybody would like to take this up?
There are several technologies that are included in digital transformation. You can name, say, AI, ML, AR, VR, cloud computing, IoT, big data analytics. So all of these technologies have different kind of impact on the sector. For example, say what has been happening after the advent of generative AI. A typical thing that we have seen as a cybersecurity professional is that the phishing mails that used to come earlier, before the advent of ChatGPT, used to have grammatical mistakes. Now, once ChatGPT was launched, what we have seen in our security operations center is that the grammar and the constitution of phishing emails has massively improved. Now it is very difficult for us to even say to users that please check for grammatical errors in those phishing emails, because that indicator has gone. Because now hackers are using generative AI to generate phishing emails. IoT had talked about that there is going to be a big problem in securing the data generated by IoT devices. In fact, we have an example of such disruption when in 2017 or 18 Mirai attack happened. So what happened in that case was 3 teenagers built a software platform that has compromised a lot of IoT devices like routers and cameras. And it was used to launch DDoS attacks on multiple websites in the USA. And it was one of a kind DDoS attack which actually overwhelmed a lot of systems. So as these technologies come into the landscape of the utilities, we are going to see newer kind of attacks that have not been seen before. Big data analytics is again something that will change a lot of things, because insights that were not available before will come into foray, and those can be utilized for different kind of purpose. So, for example, my colleague was talking about how smart meters are going to impact us. So one of the implications of getting a lot of smart meters is that you can actually gain insights on behavior of people. And the fidelity of data that you are collecting from smart meters can actually give you insights about a typical household. So for example, if I sample the data in say seconds in a typical smart meter, I can actually find out when the people are going to sleep, whenever there is going to be an occupancy in the house or not, which provides me a good data point for burglary. Then whether there is one person in a typical room, even that can be inferred from the data which is getting collected from smart meters. So in fact, a lot of assumptions can be made about a typical household if you get hold of the smart meter data. So things which were not even thought of before are going to come into picture once these technologies take a good hold over the sector. So this is an evolving situation. So how it is going to turn out is something that we have to see.
Yeah, I want to just add on something, that AI is like a double-edged sword. If you use ChatGPT, you can, with some small prompts, you can create a DDoS software. And on the other side, like for our, as a utilities, we are using it for the digital forensics. AI can help you in digital forensics capabilities development. Secondly, incident response. But the main important factor is that how much threat intels we are getting. Because if we are building a good resilience into the utility, the number of threat intels, how much threat intels we are getting. So here is a suggestion to the forum that we can share our threat intels. Like if as a utility Rajasthan is find something that these are the malicious IPs, these are the hashes, domains in my network, so there should be some central repository where I should share. Usually it is not happening, but most of the times what is there, the APTs or some of the malicious vector having same tactics, techniques and procedures. So if they are targeting Rajasthan from that particular TTP, so probably they are targeting Kerala or Bangladesh or Sri Lanka using the same TTPs, because most of the devices are usually same. So AI could be a great game changer, but on the other hand, that this threat intelligence platform development and sharing the resources, global development should really, I would say, empower the community and to the utilities.
It's a very tough question, but I'll give you a different perspective. The problem of impact can be, can be assessed on a social contract of citizens with the three aspects of the society. One, that better governance. Two, law enforcement, that rule of law. And three is the inclusivity. See, any AI impact you feel or you wanted to see the real impact of it is when people feel they have a trust in the systems. If people don't trust in the systems, no matter whatever technology you will bring, it will fail. Because there is no human element into it. So the social contract which establishes these three aspects. Why I'm sharing this rule of law, that is the law enforcement. If you look at, the innovation is directly proportional to rule of law. Many people think that rule of law has no role in the technology, but I'm a strong believer, if inclusivity is not part of the rule of law, innovations will never take place. And take an example of NASA. We know what happened in NASA. Once NASA started becoming more inclusive, bringing more colored people and different people, innovation started spreading and their innovation started improving a lot. So that's what the rule of law does. If rule of law is there in the country, in the society, and a social contract will develop, and people started believing in the systems, and the systems will provide the true impact of digital transformation. So that's my take on it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Do we have any more time, or maybe if there is any question we can still take? Otherwise, we can take those questions post panel discussion as well during the lunch period as well. So I thank all the panelists on behalf of USAID for giving almost all perspectives of cybersecurity, including legal, technical, people, process, and all those. I also thank the audience for patiently listening to this discussion. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Kazi, and entire the panel for helping us go through about cyber-aware digital transformation of in various perspectives. I think everyone is looking for their lunch. Everyone must be hungry. I would not let it. Let not disperse. Before that, we will have a few closing remarks and a vote of thanks proposed by Ms. Roseanne Cross-Morris. She is a project development specialist of energy from USA Sri Lanka. I would request Roseanne.
Distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues, as we conclude this session on cyber-aware digital transformation, focusing on the cybersecurity challenges faced by South Asian power utilities, we recognize the dual nature of our digital evolution with technologies such as smart meters and IoT devices, bringing efficiency and improved grid management, but at the same time, these lines that have now been blurred of security, making our utilities prime targets for cyber attacks, exposing critical vulnerabilities. To safeguard our energy infrastructure, we must implement advanced technological solutions and cultivate a workforce skilled in recognizing and mitigating cyber risk. The Cybersecurity Posture Assessment tool, CPAT, that was just released, will contribute to assessing the cybersecurity posture and enhancing the preparedness of the utilities. Today's discussions have provided valuable insights to best practices, policies, and technological solutions to enhance grid security. By sharing knowledge and collaborating, we can strengthen our resilience against cyber threats and ensure a secure transition towards a sustainable energy future. The potential consequences of a single cyber breach are far-reaching, and with the power to disrupt supply across entire regions and impact millions of lives. As we were reminded, with great power comes great responsibility. Therefore, it is imperative that we not only implement advanced technological solutions, but also cultivate a workforce that is adept at recognizing and mitigating these risks. The training programs and capacity building workshops being organized by the USAID SAREP team across the region has been well received and appreciated as well. Before we close, I would also like to extend my deepest thanks to all those who made this session possible. Firstly, to our keynote speaker, Reese McThomas, for this presentation. Thank you to our moderator, Dr. Kazi, for guiding the conversation and for ensuring productive dialogue. And of course, to all the panelists who shared your valuable insights, who took the time to enlighten us with your diverse perspectives and experiences, which have enriched our understanding of the challenges, but more importantly, the solutions in this critical area. Let us carry forward the knowledge and strategies shared today and continue to collaborate towards a secure and reliant energy future for South Asia. Thank you.
Thank you, Roseanne. So we come to the closing. I think we'll just have a time of presenting our gratitude towards our panelists and moderator. I would request Roseanne to felicitate our panelists with a few tokens of appreciation.